We're starting Be'ez Siman Lamed Gimel of Sefer Vayoel Moshe, and the subject is that the Rabbi is asking a few kashas here on the Shalosh Shevuos about basically where they brought in Halacha and the Rambam, and what's the nature of the Shvuah, how could it be a Harg V'al Yavor according to the Maharal, and how is it B'chlal take effect. We're going to see in the next couple of Simanim. Now the Maharal was the one who said that it's Harg V'al Yavor, that one must be killed rather than violate the oath. And the question is, in Lamed Beis, the question was, how could the Maharal say this? It's against the klal that there are only three aveiros there, Harg V'al Yavor. Okay? Uma shehem mis HaMaharal zal b'loshen HaMedrash. And he's saying, the Maharal brings this as a pshat in the Medrash. So it's not the Maharal saying it, it's Chazal saying it, right? So the Maharal loads this in. He learns this into the Lashon HaMedrash. The Medrash says that Hashem made the Yidden swear in a generation of Shmad, generation of giving your life for the Torah. Ein zer raya muchrachas. The Medrash is not a complete proof to the Maharal's words. Kol kach. L'hoylin mizeh din chadash shel hariga rachmana litzlan. This Medrash can't be used to produce a new din that's against what we know about Shas. We know there are only three aveiros there, Harg V'al Yavor. Ve'einu mavur b'Medrash sheyesh lo din shmad. The Medrash doesn't say explicitly like the Maharal that there's a din shmad, there's a din of Harg V'al Yavor on the Shalosh Shevuos. El shehishpiyon b'doyer shel shmad. The Medrash just says that he made them swear in the generation of Shmad, which could mean that he made them swear by the generation, or whatever, using the kedusha and the greatness of the Yidden who gave their lives for Shmad. Hashem made the Yidden swear, but it doesn't say explicitly that the oaths themselves have a din of Shmad. That's not the only way to learn the Medrash. It doesn't force the Maharal to learn that the Koyal Psak Halacha Sheyesh Lo Din Shmad can move on. That the Medrash really means that the Shalosh Shevuos themselves have a din of Shmad. Ushari Pshatim Lo Ninalu. The gates of learning other ways, learning the Medrash, are not closed. There's always other ways to learn. Yeah? Yes. So it's not, the Maharal is not forced to say this. And then he says, Gam afilu ilu hayam mevur kain b'Medrash Rabbah. Even if the Medrash would say it explicitly, hu tamua, it's still unbelievable that we can, use this and just negate a plain halacha that we know in Shas, that there are only three aveiros there, Harg V'al Yavor. L'choyer im hu neged halacha merubachas b'Shas, b'chol aveiros amrin Yavor v'al Yeharig. The halacha in all of Shas that we know is that they're all aveiros. Besides those three, we say Yavor v'al Yeharig. Rather do the aveir if you're under duress and not get killed. Chutz me oisen agimel, except for those three. Maybe Maharal zal b'chibura listam davra temur kolkach neged halacha sheb'shas poiskim. The Maharal would not just write something, even if it's a beferish medrash. He wouldn't write it without qualifying it. He wouldn't say, there's a halacha that you have to give your life for the Shalosh Shevuos, and just stop there. He would say, by the way, this is against the Gemara. Befrat b'davra negelas hakanas nefashos, especially since this shaila has to do with danger to life. For sure, the Maharal wouldn't just leave it at that and not say anything. He would say, this is against the Gemara. It's hakanas nefashos shel klal Yisrael. It's a sakana for the whole Jewish people. He doesn't even mention anything. He doesn't even raise like a suffix that maybe this is a machlokes, maybe it's not. You must say that given the mifshet pshita le'oisa halacha me'ezet tam shehu, that the Maharal must have known that this is the halacha from some other source. It can't be that this is the only source for it, because, as we said, it's like you can't just take a medrash that's against the whole Shas and just say it without any qualifiers, right? So it must be the Maharal knew from some other reason that this is the halacha. D'chein adin pashet shehu b'Harg V'al Yavor. And that's why he learned that shot into the Medrash. But not that the Medrash is the only makor, the only source for that statement. Okay? So So then we have to understand what was that other source. How did the Maharal know that this is Yarg Vayavor? Okay?
Yes.
Okay, next kasha. Gam Ein Muban Kol Kach. There's also it's also shver the whole case that the Maharal brings here. The Masha Nasa Al Yidei Kfir Shal Ariga Rachmana Litzlan Ein Zeh Cheres. That the whole issue of the Shevuos is to free yourself from Galus. Well, if the guy is coming with a gun and pointing it at the Yid and saying, "Go up and make a Medina," so basically he's still in Galus. He's following the guy's command.
Yeah.
This is really I mentioned before when we were learning Siman Chaf, I think Kasher in his Sefer Vayoel when he attacks the Rebbe, he asks, this is one of his questions. He says basically that this whole case that the Rebbe is describing here, that a nation is ruling over the Jews in Eretz Yisrael and somewhere else, and they say all Jews go to Eretz Yisrael, and they force them at gunpoint. That's not really. If we resist that itself is Merida B'Umois. Okay, if you resist it, you're Merida B'Umois. And if you comply with what they're saying, you're not freeing yourself from Galus. You're acting under their command. The Mashanasa Al Yidei Kfir Shel Ariga Rachmana Litzlan Ein Zeh Cheres. If they're forcing at gunpoint, that's not freedom. Why is that called forcing the end of Galus? These next few lines were added in the second printing.
Yes.
In 1960, I think. So, because originally it was printed just to say for Maamar Shalosh Shevuos, and then it was printed with the other two Maamarim, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael and Lashon HaKodesh. And when he printed that, he went through the whole Sefer, and some things were added in. So this line, he answers his question here, that it's possible to learn the Maharal different. It doesn't mean that they're going to force us at gunpoint, with torture, and force them to go out of Galus, and force them to make a state. It's very hard to
why would anybody force you to freedom? Nobody does this. Nobody tells an exiled country, build a nation. Who does that?
Right.
You gotta be crazy to think this way.
Right. That it could be means that the Goyim will make all kinds of torture and killing, and now the Yidden have no other eitzah, no other idea, no other way to get out of it, except to make a rebellion and leave Galus and and make themselves their own country. So that's what the Maharal meant. It's still asked to do it because it's like Shmad. Even to save yourself from death or from torture, you're not allowed to go and convert to another religion. So he's saying basically, even if the guy's not pointing the gun and say bow to the idol, the guy's saying pointing the gun, stop. He's saying wants to kill, stop everybody, and the Yid has an idea, he'll go and shmadzich, he'll go and
serve the Torah, he'll know he'll be saved.
Okay, even according to this pshat in the Maharal, you still have to say that the Maharal is still saying Yarg Vayavor. Yeah, it doesn't change, just changes the case to make it more reasonable. You have to know, how did the Maharal get this halacha?
Yes.
Gam tzarech lahav. Next question. This is the third question so far in this Siman. Gam tzarech lahav in lashon Rambam zal. V'yigeres Teiman. We recorded last week the Rambam Yigeres Teiman sheharich ba'azhara shaloi lidchok case that he speaks about not forcing the end. The Jews of Yemen had this false Mashiach and they were supporting him. So the Rambam says v'chasav bezel l'shoyna. He says l'vishi yada shloimoi beruach hakodesh, that Shlomo Melech knew with his Ruach HaKodesh that the Yidden would have make an attempt to rise up from Galus before the proper time, and v'hizir milasa, and he warned them not to do it. V'hishbiyahu umah al derech mashal. He made the nation swear through a mashal, through an allegory. Well, that's Pashup Pshat. He's not going to learn that way. Look, V'Omer hishbati eschem, and he said, I make you swear. So So frek the Sam Rebbe, that doesn't make any sense. The kivan she chashav zois the shvua chamura. Since the Rambam is saying that this is a really serious thing, this oath, and he's warning them not to be over on it, and he says that terrible punishments could come. So then, why does the Rambam just say that it's a mashal? Is this just the whole thing that the Rambam is saying is just a mashal? He doesn't really mean it. Okay.